To the press, I beg you to get it right because you are recording this history. You got to get it right. This is a fight for the soul of our democracy, nothing less. And so I'm going to work hard to make sure we save that democracy, and I will fight until I die. CIA criticized, FBI criticized over and over and over again. Now the rumors, and I hope that that's all they are, of Mueller possibly being fired. I hope that's not true. But those are the kinds of things that tear down a democracy because they are the very things that a democracy is based upon. And I say to all Americans, and I beg you, to guard this democracy. Guard it. I'm done. I gotta get in here.
A fight for the soul of our democracy. A very powerful statement from a very powerful Democrat, Congressman Elijah Cummings, of the House Oversight Committee. That's after 2 days of interviews, 16 hours in all, behind closed doors with Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe. Yesterday's was an emergency meeting called by the chairman of 2 separate committees. A source familiar with McCabe's testimony tells NBC News that McCabe did confirm that then FBI Director Jim Comey told him that Trump asked for a loyalty pledge. Today, House Intel is speaking with Rona Graff, a longtime associate of the president's who served as Trump Tower gatekeeper and ultimately served as senior vice president of the Trump Organization. Joining us now is NBC News national political reporter Mike Memoli. He broke the news about Rona being interviewed today. Our panel, of course, is still here. What do you know? I got indication that this questioning may have wrapped up for the day. What are you hearing?
It looks like it was another very long day of questioning here in New York. It's important to note that this questioning is happening in New York. I spent a lot of my time in the Capitol, standing outside a secure room in the Capitol complex, where most of these interviews take place. It's very unusual that this is happening in New York, and it's one of the reasons Democrats are accusing Republicans of trying to wrap this up quickly. There was one day this week where there were 3 separate interviews. Today's was the second interview that happened in New York, and we know of only a handful of members that have actually traveled for it. They couldn't come at all because of the votes that they had on Wednesday, the tax vote most specifically. So we know that Rona is a very important figure. She's the gatekeeper to Trump. Anybody who has spoken with Trump, has met with Trump, has called Trump, has gone through her. And I think we know one of the subjects that they were certainly going to bring up. Don Jr. testified before the committee on December 6th. We know that Rob Goldstone, the publicist who arranged that infamous Trump Tower meeting, in the emails between him and Don Jr. setting that up, there was a reference to Rona, because if he wanted to get the incriminating information about Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump, it was through Rona. So that had to be one of the areas they focused on today.
So let me ask you this. We also know that, and we know from reporting, from your reporting and your team's reporting, that one of the things Bob Mueller is doing is piecing together a timeline, an exquisitely detailed timeline, not just on the question of Russian collusion, but on the question of potential obstruction of justice. So I wonder if figures like Rona and what they know and the communications that they've been in receipt of will go to sort of the depth and the duration and the length of some of these relationships with the Russians that ended up in Trump Tower that day. I mean, the way Don Jr. and his folks will have us believe it, and he's told several different versions of what went down that day to begin with, but these were just some Russians that called them out of the blue and offered up dirt about Hillary Clinton. We may find out from Rona's testimony that these were Russians who have been longtime acquaintances of the Trump family.
Well, one of the other interviewees this week by the Intel Committee was Felix Sater. He's the Russian-born business associate of Trump, of the Trump Organization. He was the one who tried to arrange, famously, the Trump Moscow Tower, the one that he said would help elect Donald Trump president. So we know that this is something that obviously Mueller's team is focused on. And the fact that the House Intelligence Committee is conducting these interviews finally is significant. Democrats have said that these are 2 witnesses they've wanted to bring before the committee all year since they started this work in March. The fact that those 2 witnesses, Sater and Graff, are only happening today speaks to the fact that they're really backloading a lot of the most important, most critical interviews. There's some reporting about some others who might be coming before the committee next month. We know that Mike Conaway told a few of us this week that he's the one running the
Republican person after Nunes had to recuse, but didn't really. He's now the Republican running House.
He said that they're already writing parts of the final report. Adam Schiff is raising heck about this. He says not only is it too early to end this investigation, but if Republicans try to end it before we think it should be, we'll continue to do that work. Mueller certainly will continue to do his work. And if there are more allegations, if there are more bombshells that come out, investigations, Republicans will have to answer for that because they ended their committee investigation early.
And Joy, something else the Republicans on the committee are doing is they are trying to revive debunked lines of investigation. And you have the epic debunking. You and Shep Smith are the definitive debunkers of the Uranium One as a scandal. It was an investigation. It was looked into, but it has been investigated. It has been debunked as a political scandal. And I wonder if you can just speak to the inane nature of House Republicans who run the committee. They are not minority members.
That's right.
Going rogue against a committee they run and trying to throw their shiny balls in the air.
Yeah, this is the committee to protect the president. I think what you have is Devin Nunes, who is not recused. He was a part of the campaign and the transition, which is why he ostensibly recused himself. But he's essentially running a shadow intelligence committee whose goal, let's just be honest about it and be clear about it, is to exonerate Donald Trump at all costs and by any means necessary. And if that means truncating the actual investigation so that it's a sham investigation where they write a report exonerating Donald Trump or declaring the CIA and FBI to be criminal enterprises operating out of Washington to overthrow the president, they'll do that. And if they have to dredge up false scandals against Hillary Clinton and drag her out of political retirement and essentially prosecute her in absentia and say that she's the real criminal here, focus on that, whether it's the debunked Uranium One deal, which was approved by 9 federal agencies, and she wasn't even involved in it personally, or whether they have to bring her emails back. Look, Trey Gowdy, who is on the Oversight Committee, the chair of the Oversight Committee, and Devin Nunes, who is the non-recused chair of House Intelligence, they've been pretty clear and transparent. Their goal is to exonerate Donald Trump. Everything you see here is theater designed to do that.
And they must know that he's guilty of some